Good YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, Olympic bronze medalist, former WBC heavyweight American world champion superstar boxer who held the WBC title for 5 years, successfully defended it 10 times, Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder, superstar boxer. He has spoken and he stated that regardless of the politics within the sport of boxing, regardless of the business of the sport of boxing, he still has a goal to be great and be a great American heavyweight undisputed world champion. Regardless of all the talks of his rivals, undefeated two-time heavyweight world champion, British superstar boxer Tyson the Gypsy King Fury, who owes Deontay Wilder contractually a trilogy match after their rematch that took place in February, and two-time unified heavyweight world champion, British superstar boxer Anthony Joshua. There's a lot of talk of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury coming together to do a massive undisputed showdown. With that said, Deontay Wilder is contractually obligated to receive a trilogy match against Tyson Fury, and they're maneuvering around him. Thus, the reason why Deontay Wilder is talking about the business part of the sport of boxing. The last two great undisputed American heavyweight champions we had was Iron Mike Tyson, legendary Hall of Fame boxer, iconic boxer, and iconic two-division undisputed world champion, American heavyweight superstar, iconic, legendary Hall of Fame boxer, Evander the Real Deal Holyfield. Now, in between that, we did have undisputed American heavyweight champions like Hasim Rahman. Hasim Rahman, he knocked out Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis had defeated Evander Holyfield to become undisputed. And then he was knocked out by Hasim Rahman. Hasim Rahman became undisputed. We also had, Riddick Bowe, was undisputed. So we had American undisputed heavyweight champions. But the last two legends was Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. So Deontay Wilder is still vowing to become undisputed and still vowing to, regardless of the business of the sport of boxing, he's going to overcome it and still is going to be put more icing on his already illustrious career. Deontay Wilder, 42 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, both coming at the hands of Tyson Fury. He has 41 wins by way of knockout. He's knocked down or knocked out every opponent he's ever faced. He's 35 years of age. He's 6'7" with an 83-inch arm reach. And obviously, the last time we saw him in the ring was February of 2020 when he lost to Tyson Fury. They have a contract in place to have a trilogy match, but Tyson Fury and the boxing world wants to push for Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. And Deontay Wilder is saying, well, there's some guys that, some promoters, the bad business of the sport of boxing. He says he don't want to, shine a negative light on the sport of boxing. But, he says there's promoters, there's managers that have certain fighters that just don't want to have your fighter fight this fighter. And so it stunts a lot of the growth of certain boxers. We know that it was an ongoing saga between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. They could never come to an agreement. Deontay Wilder had to jump a lot of hurdles when it came to Anthony Joshua negotiations. Anthony Joshua stated he didn't want to have a fight for undisputed outside the UK, and now he's willing to have a fight with Tyson Fury outside the UK for undisputed. We know the $50 million offer that went back and forth. We know the rematch clause with Deontay Wilder. There was a lot of sticking points that prevented it from coming to fruition. A lot of sticking points that don't seem to be a hurdle today's time when you're dealing with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua negotiations. So with that said, he wasn't able to secure that fight. And then Anthony Joshua, he went into a fight, his first fight here on U.S. soil as a professional, because he fought in the amateurs on U.S. soil. But as a professional, he came June 1st of 2019. He fought Andy Ruiz. And history was made. Andy Ruiz, he dropped Anthony Joshua 4 times and ultimately stopped him in the 7th round. Then he had immediate rematch with Andy Ruiz that took place in December of 2019, in which Anthony Joshua, he regained his titles, making him a 2-time unified heavyweight world champion. So the business. Then Deontay Wilder, he went on. He fought Tyson Fury in his immediate rematch. After they fought, the first time ended in a draw, in which he dropped Tyson Fury twice in that fight, and ultimately should have gotten the knockout victory in the 12th round. But referee Jack Reese, he said that he wanted to give Tyson Fury every bit of the benefit of the doubt, seeing as though he was a past champion, to recover. Most fights would have been waved off at that point in time. It wasn't. So with that said, Tyson Fury was able to get up. He weathered the storm, and they fought to a draw. So they immediately had a rematch that took place in February, in which Deontay Wilder was dropped a few times and stopped in the 7th round. So we never saw Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. And there's huge fights that never took place in the sport of boxing. That's a shame. We never saw Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe. That was a huge fight that never came to fruition, okay? It's still talked about today. So with that said, Deontay Wilder, the concern here with many people is that he's 35 years old. But in the heavyweight division, as we saw with Big George Foreman, who was an undisputed Olympic gold medalist, heavyweight, iconic, legendary Hall of Fame superstar boxer in the sport of boxing, he came back and he won a world title at 45 years of age. So, and the last thing to go in the heavyweight division is your power. And we know Deontay Wilder, he packs a lot of that. He has the highest knockout percentage in history of the sport of boxing at 97%, between 93 and 97%. That's the highest in the history of the sport of boxing, okay? So there's a lot of talk that if this fight with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua does come to fruition, what direction does Deontay Wilder go in? There's a lot of talk that he could possibly be facing Charles Martin. There's a lot of talk that he could possibly be facing, the likes of a Dillian White. There's talks that, they could have a huge pay-per-view showdown with Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz Jr., who became the first Mexican heavyweight world champion in the history of the sport of boxing when he shocked the world, upsetting Anthony Joshua. He's going into a showdown May 1st against Chris Arreola, former foe of Deontay Wilder, whom Deontay Wilder stopped with a jab. So with that said, he stopped Chris Arreola with a jab back in 2016. So, obviously Chris Arreola, he's not the same guy he once was. So with that said, there's still huge fights on the horizon for Deontay Wilder. Dillian White is a British superstar boxer, but he's never fought for a major world title, nor obviously has he ever won a major world title or one of the 4 major sanctioned bodies. He's fought Anthony Joshua. He was stopped in the fight. He was in the 7th round of that fight, ironically, but it wasn't for one of the 4 major sanctioned bodies. And then, he was stopped by Alexander Povetkin when he was the WBC mandatory challenger. And now, since he has, he has rectified that, beating and stopping Alexander Povetkin in his last fight 2 weeks ago. So with that said, that's a huge storyline. Dillian White has been calling for a fight with Deontay Wilder. But it's looking like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight may not take place until September, October. So what that leaves Tyson Fury, who's been inactive himself since the fight with Deontay Wilder, there's still a strong possibility. Deontay Wilder is still in arbitration with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury has admitted so. So has Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn, that they're still in arbitration. That still has to be sorted out. And there's still a possibility that we see Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder trilogy match. Also, according to Dan Raphael, the investment groups that are looking to fund the bill and put up the money for Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, the money that Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury are seeking is huge money, and they would much rather postpone it to where they could somewhat normalcy, where you can have a huge attendance of fans in attendance to be able to garner the revenue to replace the money. Okay, you want to get a return on your investment, and if there's limited amount of fans in attendance, well, there's a limited amount of return on your investment. And so these investment groups, Saudi Arabia as being Qatar, Saudi Arabia, there's a lot of talk, Japan, there's a lot of different places that's being mentioned to look to put up the money. They want to have a 2-fight deal in 2021. So they want the fight to take place in July and then have the rematch take place in December. But if that's pushed back, obviously, to September, October, then there won't be a rematch in December. The rematch won't take place until 2022, if possible. So with that said, that would make Tyson Fury a long time since he's been inactive, and he doesn't want to wait that long. So he may just throw up his hand and say, listen, let's just go ahead and have the trilogy with Deontay Wilder. Should we get past that fight, then we go ahead and negotiate and stage the fight with Anthony. So there's still a strong possibility we could see Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Now, the WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman, he came out and he stated that, he wanted to, sanction Dillian White versus Deontay Wilder for the WBC mandatory interim position. And he also stated that he was under the understanding that if Deontay Wilder didn't fight Tyson Fury, he was going to retire. Well, this is why Deontay Wilder, he debunked that notion. So we got to see how this unfolds and plays out. But make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share the videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Hey, this is Ebony Bridges, Blonde Bomber, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.